let's talk about writing functions. Yeah, because we've talked about their magic. I kind of hinted at how to do it. I had a lab where, in the earliest version, I just let y'all struggle through it as a learning exercise. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, congratulations. That means future Mason fixed this issue. Okay, anyway, functions. Let's talk about them. Writing them. Because it's great to, have them. Okay, so what goes in versus what comes out. So functions take inputs. These are also called arguments. And they are defined in the function definition. So as we can maybe see, as I highlight, the function includes multiple inputs, and these are separated by a comma. And once you define them, then the innards of the function do stuff with those inputs. And then by default, they return the last computed thing of the function and spit it out. So we can see in this scrape page function, it does a bunch of stuff with the input and then returns a tibble. Because the last thing here is a tibble. So you can define more outputs to be returned as a list as well as with a nicer print method, but we're not going to go there for now. But what is important is to know that these inputs get systematically manipulated with your series of steps that you put into your function. And they come out following those exact same steps. So here is an illustration. We're going to use the add to. Well, actually, we're going to make an add to function. So here we have a function with one input, x, and we've started it up here. And then we have x plus 2, then 1,000. So when you apply this function, add 2, it returns 1,000. When you add 2 and input 10, it returns 1,000. Would anyone in the audience like to enlighten us on why that is? New participants? Oh, congratulations, you volunteered yourself. Because the other participants, the other watchers, are cats. And they can't read or write. But yeah, so let me, oh, nope, I'm not gonna tell you in the slides, so I'm gonna tell you verbally. So here's what's happening. So it is going through each step here. So it's putting in 3. So we pop that in, and it's adding 2. So we're getting 5. But there's a next line of 1,000. So while it is doing the appropriate step, it's not saving it anywhere and it's not returning it because it is not the last thing returned. You can add component that says return around this little output here, if you'd like, and that should return it. Cool. So that's what's happening. Okay, so naming these functions. So this Phil Carlton quote seemed apt. There are only 2 hard things in computer science: cache invalidation and naming things. I also have found that this is to be true in at least with the naming of things for factors. I am terrible at it. You can find out all about how bad I am at it in my other class. So here's the basic rules for naming. Again, this is one set of guidelines. So names should be short, and they should clearly invoke what the function does. They should be descriptive. So once you see the name of the function, you should have this, oh, duh, of course that is the name of this function because it does that thing. If it is a surprise to you or it is unclear what is happening, then you need to reevaluate your name of the function or the aspects within the function. It should not be a surprise. Another general rule is names should be verbs, not nouns. And multi-word names should be separated with underscores. So we're talking snake case as opposed to camel case, where all the distinguishing features are capitalizations. And also, just for the sanity of your user, a family of functions should be named similarly. So for a series of scrape functions, you would be like scrape page, scrape speech, or another example is like stringer remove, stringer replace. Be consistent so that your users, who are likely eventually going to be more than just yourself, or even to future you who will have forgotten everything you did to write this function. Make it easy. Make it easier on your viewer, your user. Because R is hard enough. Programming is hard enough. The beauty of R is also its curse. That while everybody can develop and everybody will have different naming conventions, at least try to be consistent. Your users will thank you. And future you will thank you. So, also, last pro tip, avoid overwriting existing functions, especially popular ones. So, don't assign mean to be a new function. Same goes for mode, which is really unfortunately named, but in base R, mode tells you, I think that gives you something about the data structure. It doesn't give you the most frequent one. So some people will overwrite it with their own function, or they'll do something. So either name something else or be prepared for the wrath of the audience that will never use your function because it is unhelpful, because you've erased something that they would use. Okay, so that is wrapping up functions. You now know everything. Correct, you do not know everything, but you now know enough to be dangerous. And there's also lots of cool fancy things, but really all a function is just applying a series of steps that you have memorialized so that you can be consistent.